creativity really saved me. Transmuting this pain that I have inside me, this anger that's all repressed, and getting it out, because I've been at some really dark points, in the bathtub, contemplating suicide. And something is keeping me here. And I believe it's...
Meet Sasha Ingham. She is an actress, model, singer, and now the host of the Sasha Ingham Podcast. She's on the mission to help others transmute trauma through creative expression, pain to power, and power to purpose. Your integrity, it's not just about you. It affects other people as well. How does that work?
The ripple effects.
The ripple effects.
Following the cool. Overcoming.
What has made you lose hope in men?
Even if it's difficult conversations and it's things that might make me feel really uncomfortable, I really respect when a man's able to...
Would you ever go on Love Island?
Would I ever go on Love Island? Do you know what? I actually got asked to.
I know you're on Mamma Mia. We'll shout that out.
So
B-roll of you in Mamma Mia playing now.
My purpose is to be present. Now.
You turn your pain into power and then your power into purpose.
The inevitable is we are all going to die. This body is going to die. It's like, well, I don't want to die while I'm alive. So live presently. I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, whoa, I was sleepwalking. Fuck. Feel all the emotions, like even the hard emotions, the sadness, the grief, the despair, the joy. Feel it all, because it means we're alive.
You've done solo pods before, but you've not done...
So, yeah, I'm really kind of starting again.
Yeah.
And this is definitely like stepping into fear for me. It's like stepping into fully being seen, maybe for exactly who I am. I'm not going to pretend to be anyone else but my authentic self. And my authentic self isn't exactly like perfect. And it's also being able to like hold that within myself. Like, I'm not sure if I'm expressing this very well.
What gets in the way of being authentic?
Yeah, fear. But I definitely feel like I just show up authentically anyway because I can't do anything else. It's too much thought to try and repress myself or put a mask on, or it's too much. So I have to just show up, and just by showing up, that's like, wow, vulnerable, because I know that I'm going to be seen. And I definitely think this is like a real poignant time in my life, just even this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah, thank you.
What is it for you that's like the fear there then, out of interest? Like, because you're very confident. You're dancing around. We come into the studio. You're making everyone laugh and smile. So, and what's the fear of kind of like being seen? What's that like?
I think a lot of these things that stem from childhood, and as a child, kind of my opinions or my dreams or my thoughts or something being told that they're wrong, how I am being judged and criticized. And therefore, like, playing small. And it's been a process of just like, okay, I don't care what people think anymore. I can't live being small. And so, I think that's like an aspect of it, is being criticized as a young girl for being who I am.
How have you like broken through that? Because I was going through your content and you speak a lot about kind of integrity as well, which is kind of like a piece of authenticity. But one of the interesting things, that kind of a perspective you had, was that your integrity, it's not just about you. It affects other people as well. How does that work?
The ripple effects.
The ripple effects.
Yeah. So there's a beautiful book called The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck. I talk about it a lot, I feel, or I've shared it a few times. And in the book, she talks about your true self. So we can tell white lies and bigger lies, and that has a ripple effect. Yet if you are completely truthful with who you are and completely truthful with other people, then the ripple effect of that can be that your life feels like it's falling apart. You're losing people, you're losing maybe opportunities, yet what's actually happening is you're being aligned with what is meant for you in your true self. So I think integrity for me means truth. And I'm not sure if that answers the question.
Yeah, it's great. Well, no, this is like the hardest question ever in the world. Because here's the follow-up, right? Like, what's truth? Like when, you see a lot of people on social media and wherever, and they're like, oh, it's my truth. And it's like, no, you're just being a dickhead. Like, and you're using it to excuse whatever behavior. So the question there is, how do you know what your truth is? What does that even mean? And what sort of barometer and measurement do you use to like align yourself with truth? How do you kind of like step into that? Like, I am in truth right now. Like, I'm being fully myself. And why is that the right thing to do?
Wow, that's a big question.
It's a big one. We're here to chat.
Like the first thing that comes to my mind right now is feeling. I think it's a lot about self-awareness. And really inquiring within myself, okay, where is this coming from? Is this coming from a need for validation? Also, is that also okay within myself? Like I like to be seen and witnessed. So I remember as a little girl, like dancing in the pub in front of the pub. But like, and I was quite sensual, but I was young, but it felt so freeing. And it was almost an aspect of being witnessed. So also what is wrong with that? And so it's a lot about like self-inquiry, and my truth can change also as I change and expand. And so I think it's just a lot about self-awareness and understanding that there are many truths too. And I am learning. I definitely don't have an answer that is like the answer.
Yeah. It's such an interesting one, right? Because, I mean, one of the ways to kind of think about it is like, if you think of other people as mirrors, then you can kind of see what kind of response are you eliciting in them. Can they open up, be themselves? And yeah, I don't know, it's something that's kind of been on my mind recently. I recently read a book called, it's like the Book of Truth trilogy it's a channel text. It's really interesting. And it talks about kind of stepping into that. And it's just, it's something that I sometimes hear and I don't really know what it means. I think it could be, like a word that's thrown around quite a lot. But yeah, so I'm curious about this kind of like ripple effect, like the effect of being in truth. What does that mean for others? Like, why is it important for you to kind of step into whatever that means? How does that affect others? And how's that played out for you?
I think it gives other people permission to be themselves too. And I know that because of the responses I've had from other people, just by me like dancing and being fully expressed in my dance. And I've had women come up to me and say thank you, and say how they felt inspired, or that they feel like, I have one girl come up to me and say she thinks I'm the female, the embodiment of what the feminine is, you know, and I'm like, okay, I'm just being me. Yeah. But the fact that it has that effect on other people when they witness it, that's a beautiful thing. I don't have to try and change anybody or tell anybody what to do. People can just be inspired. And I feel that with other women. I think that jealousy can be transmuted into inspiration. I definitely have had friends that in the beginning I was like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit jealous. What am I jealous of? The way she walks, the way she holds herself. And it's igniting something in me. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to choose to embody that in which is making me jealous or inspired. And the ripple effects of them being themselves has directly impacted me and how I show up and how I'm now expressed. Like I definitely have become more and more expressive because of the women in my life. And so if other women see that in me, or even men, then who knows what the ripple effects are. Just authentically showing up as yourself inspires other people. to do the same.
Yeah. And it's such a good insight, right? And that's all that anyone ever wants, like moment to moment, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I want to feel like every human behavior, starting a business, hurting someone, it's because you didn't feel loved and accepted for exactly who you were in that moment. Mm-hmm. So when you can like fully show up as yourself, it might be quite abrasive for other people because it's mirroring the parts of them that they wish that they could, even though it's different. It's not that like I look at you and like I want to dance. I kind of do. I'm really like, I'm not a good dancer.
I'm sure you got it in you.
It sometimes comes out, but I'm not a natural. I've always been the other side of like dance floors and stuff. So it's always been a bit of a weird one, but it makes you confront the part of you that's not fully showing up, right? And then that's your challenge. That's your work at the moment. I'm curious, how that's kind of played out in terms of like opportunities and things, because this is something I'm interested in kind of helping people with. And I think you really embody this. It's that showing up as yourself is actually the most beneficial thing you can do for yourself and others, and also like your career, whatever you're trying to do, anything that you kind of do outside of being yourself, you're going to have to continue being that to keep whatever you've created. So yeah, I'm curious like how kind of just stepping into like, hey, this is me, this is what's going on. What's that opened up, and relationships and opportunities?
So I'll start with like opportunities, because I started writing and releasing my poetry just on social media. And then I had somebody message me who was a director saying, hey, are you an actress? And we ended up jumping on a Zoom call because he was expressing that he's been looking for the main part for his film. It's a feature film. And he hasn't felt a resonance with anyone else. And then he saw me and he was like, yes. And it was a full embodied yes. Because he also had kind of like funding coming from somewhere else, and they may have required or wanted somebody who was well known, and he was still like, no, I want Sasha. And he was like, you just get it. And that's just from me sharing my poetry. And then that also led to another opportunity, because he's got another film that's been taken up, which is more of like a sci-fi film. And his thought was me for the goddess.
For the goddess. All right, let's go.
But yeah, I think that for me was beautiful, because literally days before that opportunity came to me, I was like, universe, I would really love to have opportunities that align with my desire for performance and acting and singing, but for it to also align with my spiritual path, and for it to be something that I feel to be my full embodied yes. So that was like an opportunity that is sizzling away. And also friends wise, like the women in my life, wow, I'm so grateful for. And just coming back to Bali, I can spend a lot of time on my own drinking tea in places, and then I'll get up and dance, and I'll dance on my own. Even if no one else is dancing, I'm like, screw it, I'm going to do it. And as I do that, then I have other women gravitating towards me who are my kinds of people, who are inspired and see me for my depth. And also I had one girl come up to me and she was like, I see that you just dance for you and you're not dancing for anyone else. And they can see that within me just by me actually doing it for myself, because that is authentic. I'm authentically doing it because I love to express myself. I love to dance, and I love to step into fear. And I know I can potentially be criticized by other people around me who are like, what's she doing? Like on her own up there. Like what you're saying. Like,
yeah.
You too, have you got a fear of just getting up on the dance floor and looking like a fool maybe?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah. It's funny actually, I was in Koh Phangan. I think I told you about this. I was in Koh Phangan, and it's known as like a party island. Yeah. Like a real party island, and known for other things as well. And since I was there, I had a couple of friends who were like, come out. I was like, no, come out, no. Come out, no. I was in my like reading, being on my own, learning phase. And it was my last night. And I was like, they were like, come out to this party. You haven't been. I was like, okay. So I went out and I'm completely sober. And I was like, right, come on. I was like fully in my head. There's people around, everyone's dancing, it's loud. I'm like, oh, I'm so out of my comfort zone right now. And I was kind of coaching myself. I was like, come on, just do it. Like, no one cares. You don't know anyone. Just like, let it go a little bit and see what happens. And yeah, my intention was for myself, I was like, come on, just move around, dance to it. Like, you can move, like, you're not that rigid and stuff. And I just started dancing. And again, like, for myself, just to kind of do it. But what happened was it just started pulling people towards me and my friend. It helps that we're tall, but like everyone else, there's a lot of other guys there kind of, you know, having a few drinks and maybe sort of annoying a lot of the female occupants of the dance floor. So over the period of like 30 minutes, like we just kind of had this like attractive energy that people just came to us. And it wasn't like kind of in any sort of romantic way. It was just people were like, all right, that's chill. Like they can clearly see that like that person doesn't have any like ulterior motives. And it was interesting. You could literally see the physical effect. And we left. And I was like, that's interesting. I don't know if it means I need to dance more. I think it was like a one-off lesson and I've learned it now. But yeah, it was interesting. It was like it allowed other people to just kind of let go a little bit. And yeah, because I guess like I'm quite tall and stuff, so you kind of stand out in a crowd and stuff. So yeah, sometimes aware of that if you're like dancing like that. People are looking because they can't help. But yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, I don't know what the benefit of. It feels good to move. I dance on my own. I was dancing this morning. Do you like Toto?
Toto?
The band?
I'm not sure if I've heard of Toto.
Yes, my word, you've not watched The Beach by and you haven't
so
heard of Toto? You know the song Africa?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
So.
You do know the song Africa.
So I think we've had this discussion before. I am very good at recognizing people by face, things by listening.
Yeah.
Yet names I find tricky to retain sometimes. I'm going to practice.
Yes. Well,
practicing.
Okay. Beach. I'm going to send you a message and we're going to listen to Toto after this. But yeah, I was, you know, it's a great way to start the day. I was like listening to Toto and I was Roxana and Rosanna, and yeah, it's just like moving around and it feels good. It brings your mood up, and but I wouldn't do it in public. I wouldn't dare do it in public.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What's your insight there?
Maybe we should go to a. I can never get the name right. Ecstatic dance.
Yeah. Have you been to some of them?
So many. You know, the first time I went was in Bali, and I was really inspired by the men because I felt really rigid. I was like quite nervous and like just in my own little space. And then I saw these big men being fully expressed. You know, again, it's sober dancing. And I was like, wow, I'm in awe. I was actually really, it brought me a lot of hope. Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting because for me then, and perhaps like some people watching, like I think like 75% of people who watch are men. Like the idea of dancing, it sounds like quite a feminine thing. And you talked about kind of embodying the feminine. I'm curious, like for when you said that brings you hope, why? Because like, perhaps even from my perspective now, I'd be like, is that not like a massive ick if you see like a guy dancing around? Like, so why does that bring you hope? I'm really curious about that.
It brings me hope because for me, that is a man exuding confidence. It's like you're so sure of yourself and confident to be expressed in whatever way that is. It shows power for me. I think expression and creativity shows power and a depth of feeling and connection to one's body. It's like out of the mind and into the heart. That's why it gives me hope. Because I remember I first went with my friend who is like over 7 foot muscular man, you know, and I had never seen him in that light. And seeing him in that light again gave me permission to do that and to be that expressed, and gave me hope that there are men out there that are connected to themselves. I think that's really what it is.
So this is really interesting. I've got 2 questions off this. What has made you lose hope in men?
Yeah, so growing up, I didn't have any healthy examples of what man was and what love is. I saw a lot of domestic abuse with my mum, like a lot, and a lot of violence, a lot of hatred and sex that wasn't loving or sacred. It was abuse. So I saw, I guess what we call the toxic masculine aspects of I'm not even sure if really this is what a man is. I think these are scared boys in grown-up bodies, and I'm starting to understand what a man inherently is gentle, kind, loving, strong, integral. That's what a man is. So I lost hope because of what my examples of men were, and it was such a process for me to feel safe in the masculine energy, and also because of my own experiences in relationships. And I remember doing a breath work once with a group of people, and I couldn't stay in the room with the sound of the men breathing. I couldn't do it. I walked away. And the breathwork instructor came and got me, and she was like, just sit there. You don't have to breathe. You don't have to close your eyes. Just be in the presence of men breathing. That was hard. And then kind of fast forward some time, I was doing a solo breathwork with a man who I trusted and was in the process of trusting even. There's still things that were coming up, but this was a big step for me. And I remember just even having his hand on my stomach, I was able to actually embrace that and be like, thank you. Because so much came up for me in that breath work, and going from not being able to be in a room with a man who's breathing to being in a room solo with someone leading me was really amazing. Yeah.
So you spoke before about kind of the feminine energy, and we're kind of talking about, what is that masculine energy now? And I think it's always going to be a contemporary topic, right? And there's this idea that kind of, and I say this to guys, and I feel uncomfortable when I say it, but I know it's true. So the most masculine thing a man can do, shock, is be in full love all of the time. And that's actually the most powerful thing. So we often hear kind of, there's a lot of influencers online, the red pill spaces in the recent years kind of come up, and that's because the pendulum swings. We've gone very kind of like floaty, and now we've gone back kind of more rigid, but it will swing back to a middle ground. And often kind of some of the examples that are given are that, hey, men are here to conquer. And like people like Genghis Khan is used. Like he was here to conquer. He had like half the population of wherever is his. But you need to conquer out of love. That's actually true masculinity, is you're conquering. Yes, you have the capacity for violence. Yes, you have the capacity to be really powerful and a leader, but it has to come out of love. Otherwise it comes out of fear, and fear breeds more fear. So yeah, I'm interested in kind of like communicating this message to guys. And I sometimes cringe as I'm saying it. Because I'm like, hey guys, like, I have a lot of friends who like, they're kind of in very great shape, they're boxers. I'm like, it's all about love, guys. Like, so I'm curious, like from your point of view as a female, how would you communicate that to guys? How would you help with that understanding, and understanding that it maintains that frame of masculine, feminine. It actually allows partners, women in their life to kind of fall into their feminine as well. How do you kind of comprehend that, and how would you communicate that to guys?
Quick one from me, guys. We get a lot of requests asking about this space where we record the podcasts. So when I was searching for a studio location, I wanted a high quality setup, but also a space with a ton of character and a lot of vibe. So I wanted to let you know about the amazing House of Yoreh here in Bali. House of Yoreh is Bali's premium recording studio for creatives, podcast hosts, and entrepreneurs alike. They are also the producers of stunning handcrafted jewelry like the piece that you see around my neck. The studio offers multiple setups for podcasting, solo content creation, as well as photography projects. The studio has a unique cinematic aesthetic, comes with a dedicated technician, along with the best audio and video equipment here in Bali. The founders are both photographers and have a keen eye for detail that most miss. I have loved recording here, but most importantly, my guests have felt comfortable and fallen in love with the space as well. So if you're here in Bali, come in, grab a coffee, and ask to check out the rooftop studio. If you like what you see and think this will be a good spot for your next project, hit the link in the description, book in a slot, and use the code SPARK2024 for 10% off your booking. Also, if you love the artisan jewelry and would like a piece of your own, check out the Yoreh website or come into the art cafe and see the pieces here on display. And again, use the code SPARK2024 for 10% off your next piece. These things are awesome. Demand for the studio is obviously high and there are limited slots available. So if you have a project coming up, book in now. Happy creating, friends. I know you will love the spot as much as I do. Back to the episode.
There's a few things that are coming to mind, and like visually, like the masculine being the tree that wraps its branches around the delicate flower and protects the delicate flower, and then that gives room for the delicate flower to bloom. I remember hearing Teal Swan talk about something before about claiming, which really resonated with me because from experience, I feel very safe when a man claims me. And that's very different to ownership. It's not controlling, but it's like, you're mine. And I'm like, damn,
Okay.
So it's like a play of protection, respect, consideration, and lovingly growing together. So it's coming from a place of like, I love you so much, I want you to grow, this is what I see. How do you feel about that? You know? I love communication. I'm very big on communication. So a man who's able to connect to his emotions and express how he's feeling is huge for me because I feel really safe. Even if it's difficult conversations and it's things that might make me feel really uncomfortable, I really respect when a man's able to come to me with love and expression.
I think when guys hear that, and you're so right, like, because you need to honestly understand where your partner is. I think what a lot of guys sometimes hear there is they're like, it's like crying to their girl as mummy. And it's like, you can express your feelings, but it's not to unload and say, deal with this for me. Like, don't understand how to deal with this. It's like, hey, this is coming up. I need to dissolve it. I need to action this. I just want to make you aware that, hey, this is what's going on at the moment. So you understand, you have that data that you can process, you know, but I'm working on it. There's a plan. And I think that's often the kind of part that guys miss out on. And I think that often really deters. And I think I've definitely done this in relationships, is you come to your partner with problems and no solution, and that kind of loses trust and respect because you're not in your masculine frame anymore. You're not solving the problems. You're not leading and claiming. I'm curious about this claiming because that could be quite a triggering thing for some of maybe more feminist leaning, whatever that means. You know, no man owns me sort of shit. So I'm curious with that claiming, like, why is that attractive to be claimed, and what does that mean? And how can guys navigate that in a way because that doesn't come across as controlling and it is attractive still in this world where, I'll be honest, a lot of guys are like, all right, how far do I push? Because I don't know if I'm going to get a court case against me, you know, seriously. So what's that look like?
I think, again, everything comes with like a level of self-awareness. And it's coupled with other things. It's like what other aspects of healthy masculinity are they portraying? Like, do I feel safe to express my emotions?
So it's safe for you to feel your emotions and fully feel your emotions?
It's safe for me to come to him and say, this is what I'm feeling, without defensiveness and him taking it so personally, but seeing that this is me and my experience. And that also takes a responsibility from me to not be criticizing and blaming, but be like, oh, this is how I feel. This is how this made me feel. And depending on how a man holds the space, you know, in his body, grounded, kind of listening, attuned, and that signals safety. And then I think in an environment like that, for me, then feeling claimed is really sexy. Because I genuinely want to be claimed by him. I respect him. I admire and feel, I think safety is a big word. But again, safety also comes from my side of the table. I have to be able to create safety for myself, but it's also very clear when somebody is unable to, there's so many things running through my head right now. It's like I think I've gone through so many iterations of relationships where I would even come and be integral with myself and know that I'm coming to the conversation with self-awareness. Like, are you ready for this conversation right now? And it being a yes, and I express my feelings and how something may have hurt me without blaming and criticizing. But then on the other end, there's still being defensiveness and criticism. And I've also experienced the opposite.
So I think a really interesting mental frame, this has really helped me with relationships with others, just in general, is ask yourself the question, where does a relationship exist? So like between you and me, where does your relationship with me exist? Where does my relationship with you exist? Is it somewhere in between us? Does it exists either in you or me? So that means that this relationship, I process it in here. It all goes through this filter. It's all processed through me. Same with you. It's all processed within you. And if something's coming up, if there's like these feelings coming up, it's triggering you. And I think that it helps you understand each other from like a more compassionate place, and everyone from a much more compassionate place. And you can understand that they're suffering with something right now. And the question is, okay, you're suffering with something. Let's kind of figure out why. So the word compassion, that's showing compassion. The word compassion actually comes from, I don't know if it's Latin or Greek, but means to suffer with. Compassion. And that's what it is. Bless you. That's what it is. In relationships, it's sometimes you need to suffer with someone. When you can feel someone suffering with them, then you can understand them. And you can understand why they're processing their current experience of reality in a certain way. And it gets you to ask questions. Oh, what happened? Oh, this happened in my childhood, and that's bringing this up. And, oh, okay, now I understand you more deeply. And, oh, if I was in your shoes and had that exact same human experience, I'd be feeling that way as well. Oh my God, let me give you a hug, you know? So I found that really helpful to kind of take when listening to others as well, and in relationships. And I've been in relationships where, there's been triggers and played into that and kind of got addicted to the toxicity of it all. And it's been a journey. So with kind of...
I can see you smirking. What's about to come?
With talking about relationships, would you ever go on Love Island?
Would I ever go on Love Island? Do you know what? I actually got asked to. How did you find that out?
Oh, I didn't know. No. I know you're on Mamma Mia. We'll shout that out.
So
B-roll of you in Mamma Mia playing now.
Yeah, you won't be able to find me. I got asked to go on not Mamma Mia, on Love Island a few times.
Yeah.
And I chose not to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do it?
I wouldn't do it. I said no.
Why?
There were times I debated it, and then I was like, actually, no. Because I think that these programs are, then I don't believe they're showing the true, authentic relating that's going on. Is there an agenda? And they're wanting to potentially paint certain people as certain characters because it gets more views. And for me, it just feels as though I wouldn't be portrayed as who I really am to my core. And yeah, I think there's a lot more than that too. Just the kind of program it is doesn't suit who I am.
I'd like to see you on that. That'd be good. I've been asked, not on Love Island, but the last few weeks, like a few Australian dating shows.
Oh, really?
I've been considering it. Yeah.
Where have you?
Yeah.
What would make you say yes, do you think?
So there's more that would make me say no.
Yeah.
But my friend Dan, he went on 2 reality TV shows in the last year. And the second one particularly, it's exactly what you said. They did not paint him in a good light. They found one little thing that was like a plot point, and they just, even though he spoke about this wide plethora of stuff, they were like, that is the story, that is the line, have him repeat that, have him repeat that, have him repeat that. Yeah. And yeah, it wasn't fun at all. So that is part of it. But then part of me likes the challenge as well. If you're like, well, can I show up and can I get past that? No matter how they edit it, could I just like come across as I am? Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen a few clips of this season's Love Island floating about. As much as I try and ignore it, it comes up, and I know about the characters now. It's interesting. Going back to there's something you said. You gave the analogy of the masculine being the tree that protects the beautiful petal and flower and allows the flower to blossom. So that kind of brings up this idea of what really drives the masculine and is beauty, is reverence for life. So when you see beauty, when you see art, when you hear a piece of music, you feel reverence for life. You feel appreciation. You can feel awe. When you see a beautiful view, see a sunset, you can feel just life. And that is one of the core drivers of kind of the masculine, right? The feminine is, as you said, it's the flourishing, it's the expression, it's the feeling. That's what makes a woman, from my understanding, feel fully in their feminine. So my question from that was, after veering from Love Island, was about your kind of creative expression. So I know you're getting into music, your poetry, and your movement, your dance as well. What's going on there? What's going on with your music? Why are you called to express, and how's that coming on?
Wow. So I would say I'm going to take it back to a time when I was first going on a kind of self-discovery crash course. Hitting
crash course.
Yeah, crash course. Hitting rock bottom and being like, okay, I need help. And taking myself to the hypnotherapy office eventually. And her going, wow, I'm surprised you're not a drug addict. And I was like, wow, okay, that's validating. I really have gone through a really tough time. And throughout that process, there were a lot of creative tools that helped me kind of dance my way out of rock bottom. So other people's creativity, books, were the beginning, being able to express myself, being able to use my voice to anger, to express myself for the things that I've never expressed as a child. I really believe in our like psychosomatics. I believe our bodies hold energy and can create illness. And my dad got thyroid cancer of his throat. And only recently he expressed something to me that he experienced when he was a little boy of sexual abuse. And he held that within himself for so many years. I see that as the throat chakra, not being able to express, say no, anger at a time that was needed. So the energy gets pushed down and repressed and manifests as illness. And so for me, expression is so important. And it started with me writing a letter to my rapist. My psychologist said, write a letter and then write a letter as if they were writing one to you. So a reply from them. And she went in when she was like, say this, say that, say that. And I was like, whoa, I don't know if I've got that in me. That's so dark.
Yeah.
And when I really sat down and wrote the letter, whoa, so much energy was moving inside me, like able to express the anger that I couldn't express. And I was writing like, I want you to feel all the pain of all the women that have ever experienced rape. You know, and I'm kind of on the surface here, like I went in. And then when I wrote a letter back, all I wrote was, I'm sorry. That's all I needed to hear. And that for me was creativity and the ways in which creativity have saved me, because I've been at some really dark points, you know, in the bathtub, contemplating suicide. And being in that bathtub, and something is keeping me here. And I believe it's me now. Something within me knew about now, you know, time. Time is very interesting. I believe everything's like happening all at once. And so I experienced other ways that creativity really saved me. Being able to then write poetry from pain, transmuting this pain that I have inside me and this anger that's all repressed and getting it out through dance, being able to then create a connection with myself and my sexuality and my sensuality, because boy, did that affect how I related to sex and related to my own body. And so now I'm really able to express my sexuality without feeling shame. And so dance and singing, being able to voice my pain. And I found that the more I've like screamed underwater and let the anger out, and I've gone to some somatic healing practices and they've like hit trigger points and I've just roared. I remember one woman saying, I would love you in my wolf pack.
Nice.
And I just scream because I feel this pain in my lower stomach. And when I'm able to express that anger, then that pain goes.
So something you've said is you turn your pain into power and then your power into purpose. And your insight there with your father as well and yourself is that pain, that trauma, whatever it is you felt, it's affecting your actions either consciously or unconsciously. And most of us either don't choose to express it and get it out and turn your pain into power, turn your pain into creativity, turn your mess into your message. But most of us, me as well, big time, hold on to it, but it does affect you still. It's like your blueprint, current self blueprint, it's a big part of it, and it's affecting how you manifest whatever and how you show up. So it's really interesting. And from that kind of like pain to power, power to purpose, what do you feel like your purpose is?
Purpose to me is a few things. One is to be fully present in life. My purpose is to be present. Now. And what it also means to me is following the cool. So I have a cool. I have this deep desire to express myself, and fear can sometimes create a block. And it's like overcoming that fear, overcoming, and constantly stepping into what it is that I deeply desire. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So it's a momentary thing. Purpose isn't a mission on the horizon that you'll have one day. It's something that you can access now. How do you work on being present to now?
Trying to show up, or I'm not even trying, showing up authentically as myself. Keep showing up authentically, and I feel as though I'm in the present. And, you know, it's, again, I'm totally not perfect, and I've got so many things to learn, which is exciting. But it's like the inevitable is we are all going to die. This body is going to die. You know, what happens after, whether we incarnate and experience other lives, you know. But right now, this will leave. And it's like, well, I don't want to die while I'm alive. So live presently. I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, whoa, I was sleepwalking. Fuck.
Yeah,
Feel
fuck.
it all. Feel all the emotions, like even the hard emotions, or what we label hard, you know, the sadness, the grief, the despair, the joy. Feel it all, because it means we're alive. That's what being present feels like to me. Authentically feeling each part of myself.
You nailed it. I love that. That's awesome. So there's this idea, there's this teacher that I come across fairly recently. I think I told you about him the other day. He's he has this great quote or saying, it's live a life of friction, but observe. And it's exactly your insight there. Showing up authentically is showing up with all of your imperfections. And hey, we're on a podcast here. We're imperfect. Like, there's obviously sometimes this thing of like, hey, you know, you have to be some sort of expert. No, we're all imperfect humans trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
How liberating.
How liberating. Hey, we're all humans over here. But showing up authentically means that you show up with your flaws. And guess what? Your flaws create the friction that is necessary for the next lesson. So by showing up authentically, it's going to cause friction. You're going to piss someone off. Something's going to happen. But that's good, because you've come down here for a human experience. And if you can show up authentically, you'll get the lessons, and then you'll get the growth. And then you'll also have, my kind of perspective there is you kind of start to appreciate it. My friend James, he has this he was on the podcast, and he has this great way of saying this. Whenever he makes a mistake, he goes like, oh, how human of me. And it's awesome. And it's liberating, like you said. Oh, how human of me. I did a human thing. But also, that's the fucking point. Is we've come here for that human experience, and make the mistakes, make the mess. But you do that from your insight. You put it beautifully. Show up authentically with your flaws.
I think by accepting ourselves, that's where the real healing happens. Because in childhood, we may not have been fully accepted. So now as an adult, we can fully accept all parts of ourselves, love ourselves unconditionally, instead of resisting and pushing against parts of ourselves that then create friction in a way that is so. The feeling that comes to mind is almost like the soul is fragmented with the resisting and the restricting. Whereas if you can fully accept yourself, it just feels like it all comes together. Like,
I like how you express.
I express a lot with my hands, and everything for me is so visual. It's very like feeling based, so it feels juicy to be all of myself and accept myself and to be like, oh yeah, okay, I did a human thing. Okay, what next? What next? Instead of, oh fuck, like I hate myself for this, and oh, why did you do that? And that doesn't create a forward motion.
Yes. I saw you put that on your Instagram. It was ask what, if something happens, don't ask why me, ask what's next. How did you come to that realization?
I think that particular one was from a book that I read.
Nice.
Yeah. You put me on the spot here. I might have to double check.
It's all
like,
good.
was that one of my creations or somebody else's? I think that was from the book The Artist's Way.
Someone just recommended that to me. That's funny.
Yeah.
I need to read that.
Yeah, I haven't finished. But basically what it's talking about is transmuting energy. When instead of getting stuck, it's like move forward. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. It's the most valuable. I mean, what we're kind of digging into here is like for me anyway at the moment, it's some of the most valuable lessons you can learn as a human, and it gives you, it liberates you, like you said, to enjoy this human experience and know that it's flawed and, accept it for what it is. And one of the things we spoke about at the start is finding your truth, and you spoke about a book just then, and this is something I've been thinking about. Like, you read a book and you're like, was that my insight, or like, did I read that? But the best books and the best wisdom help you to realize your truth, which belongs to you, right? Yeah. They're just signposts that point to realizations that are already within you.
I was going to say that that books, they become our teachers, and they can, exactly what you're saying, they ignite things within ourselves. And I've experienced that so many times. I think that also, like, really randomly, I just want to say, because it's on my mind, a part of me then when I was expressing was like, oh, Sash, you're struggling to express right now. And there was kind of like a judgment towards myself. And something that I have been feeling challenged by is expressing what I have on the inside and putting it out there in a way that I desire to give justice to the story, right? And then there's also these fears of judgments from other people that come through that aren't even there. It's all in my mind. And just letting that out right now helps me kind of move forward so that I'm not hanging on that in my mind. But
that's beautiful.
That was happening.
I love how self-aware you are.
Yeah, thanks.
Good work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a life hack, right, as well, with, like, if something embarrassing happens, just own it and laugh as well.
Yeah.
And then you like reclaim it. And by the way, you are expressing yourself beautifully. So don't worry about that at all. But it's, what were you saying? Sorry, I got sidetracked as well there. I'm struggling to express myself as well.
So before that we were talking about books and becoming teachers and things like that. And then I was saying how previously I got a little bit distracted by my mind and what was coming up for me.
I have a question. Why Bali? Why do you like Bali?
I feel like I can be fully myself.
Why?
I feel like people who gravitate towards here are my kind of community. And I mean, there's very different people, but I've noticed that when I'm here, it has the environment that helps me flourish. And as I'm flourishing, I then have people that I deeply love gravitate towards me. So I love to dance. I love to sing. I love to write. I love to be silly. And I feel like, and playful. And I feel like the environment here holds that. And I travel, and I think it brings people who travel too. And I know that I can get judged. I'm thinking about somebody saying something in England and was like, "You're just running away." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not running away. I'm running towards. I'm running towards something that makes me feel so much joy and inspiration." So Bali also has this Mama Bali energy where I feel like things happen so fast. I love it. It's like fast growth, and it's just undeniable for me here. It's happening.
It's happening.
It's happening. Like it is. I'm not sure if what you've experienced, whether you really believe in the Mama Bali energy.
More and more.
Yeah.
There's a few friends, separate friends, have said Mama Bali or Mother Bali, she either accelerates you or she chews you up and spits you out. And I've seen it from being here over a year now, kind of on and off. I've seen the people who come out of it, your bad habits or your, don't want to put judgment on it, but your kind of, detrimental to self and other habits, they also amplify. And Bali shakes that out of you quickly. I've seen people go broke and have to leave very, very quickly. But I've also experienced the amazing connections. Like I'll think of someone and I see them, and then, or just crazy things that is like I have a great story with my friend Ibrahim. We were at a restaurant the other week, and it was a huge group of us. And we were going to go somewhere else to eat afterwards. We were just going to kind of hang by, but then we're looking at the food and we're like, oh, damn, we should have ordered more. And this might just be a silly coincidence, but it felt like magic. So everyone had ordered like this lamb kind of dish, whatever. And we both looked at each other and we both knew that we were like, we should have ordered one of those. And we knew because we lived with each other, we were on a bit of a kind of wave. Literally, as we were thinking that, some waiter appears with the exact dish that we wanted and is like, who is this for? Who is this for? And then someone else points at me and Ibrahim and goes, it was for them. Like, what? What? And I know that it's like kind of a trivial example, but it's stuff like that happens all the time here. And it's like, right, I'm just not going to question that and enjoy it.
So many things like that are happening. And like you're saying, like it's a small example, but it's hard to kind of express the magnitude of it unless you're experiencing it. I was going to say another thing too, is that the reason why I chose Bali is because of, well, I guess people like you, the creatives. It draws creatives here. And it's just such a beautiful environment to be in, because then opportunities arise and like energetically creatives can help each other in some way. And I love it.
This has been awesome. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing yourself. How can people get into your world? How can they start thinking like you're thinking? How can they get closer to you?
Well, I'm starting a podcast soon.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I'm in the process of building the podcast. My Instagram's by Sasha Ingham. And then you'll be able to link into my podcast as it's being built. So that's really exciting. I'm fully stepping into a big calling and overcoming a lot of fears with that. I think that's like the easiest way. And then, I'm hoping to create a sanctuary for people who are overcoming complex PTSD, childhood trauma, and sexual abuse. And I think it's all going to expand as I expand. So I'm in the early phases.
The conversation continues. I'm excited to follow along. And thank you so much for taking the time. And until the next one.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Beautiful.
If you're an entrepreneur, a creative, or an existing podcast host, you're looking to build your influence online and become an authority in your niche, by now you know that having your own podcast is the single best way to do this. Over the last few years, you'll know that any person of influence has released their own podcast. They've realized that this is where the attention is. And this is why I've gone all in with podcasting myself. Not only this, having your own podcast solves the ongoing content grind problem, and it grows your network and your business as you grow the show. 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 3. Of the 10% that do, 90% of them don't make it past episode 20. Most podcasts aren't monetized, they don't generate qualified leads, and they don't get sponsorships. Rather than grow your business, they just become a very time-consuming hobby. The reason that most fail is because they don't have simple, scalable production systems or have a clear strategy to fit their podcast inside of their current funnel. This is the problem that we're solving inside of the Voix Incubator, program, and community. We walk you through all of the strategies we've used to manage over 35 industry-leading podcasts, generate over 55 million views, and generate over $1 million in products, services, and sponsorships for our clients. So hit the link in the description to watch a free training where we'll show you how to grow your podcast with ease without wasting your valuable time and money. Hope that's helpful for you guys. Back to the episode.